They're gonna call you Barry the Banded Bandit after this one. Welcome back to Self-Built. Today I'm going to take you through a banded workout today on legs. This might seem a little tricky to get an effective leg workout because usually you need a lot of weight, cool machines, and a gym to do it, but I'm just going to be using bands and maybe a couple attachment points or some very small equipment that just holds on to this. I'm going to show you this because you can take these anywhere with you. They're light, they're portable, they don't take up a lot of space. So you can be on vacation, on the road, or anything. And if you need to get a little workout in, these can be a great go-to. So let's jump into this. It's nice to have an assortment of different bands. If you don't have any bands, I'll leave a small link of a couple you could get for cheap at no extra cost to you, but it does help support the channel. So I do thank you if you choose that. I've got a band just attached to my squat rack. You can use this to attach to basically anything, a tree, a couch, anything that'll hold the weight that you're going to be doing. And then just for something to help hold on, I've got some ankle straps. You can just wrap this around your foot. We're going to be doing some standing hamstring curls. These are super easy to get into. Once you're hooked in, just back up to whatever weight feels good for you. And it just takes a second to kind of feel it out. And then I'll just hold my leg down this way so that way I can focus on just using the hamstring. Really nice thing is you can control your resistance depending on how far or how close you are and how much you're stretching out the band. So you can just change it on the fly depending on how you're feeling. And if you haven't used bands before, they can really help you if you have any sort of nagging pains because the weight will start light and then it will gradually get heavier and heavier. So it just kind of puts a gentle load on whatever you're working out. So that way, if that causes an injury or issue, that might help you out a little bit. The fun and unique thing about banded training is the more you're stretching the band, the more resistance you get. So when I'm doing those hamstring curls, that last half is getting so much more focus. And it's nice because typically when you're doing any other resistance, it's nice to have that when you're doing something that's like a machine or a weight, you're getting kind of that flat curve of resistance. When you start to fail on your range of motion, usually it's the bottom half that will have to take the brunt of just getting fully exhausted, where the top half, it gets still really tired, but it's not able to really get just completely fried. And this kind of helps you focus on that top half. After a couple sets of that, I'm already getting warmed up. Pump covers off. We're going to do one more hamstring exercise. This is going to be like a version of like a good morning or stiff-legged deadlift, kind of in the middle. Just going to use a little bit bigger band, rest it across the back. I'm going to have it hide right on the rear delts. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this down and step on it. And I'll show you in a little bit. But once you get that set, you want to set your legs up as if you're going to do a stiff-legged deadlift. And then just focus on using your hams to pull yourself up. And ta-da! Here comes a whole new exercise. It's nice because it gradually puts the load on the spine. So if you do have any sort of lower back issues that are nagging you at that day, this is a good way to do it because when I'm down here bent over, it's usually where it's the most vulnerable, but it's also where this is the most light. So it does add a little bit of a fun dynamic. And then at the top, you're squeezing your hamstrings like crazy, like right now. They're definitely working overtime. And typically, you don't have to strain them as much when you're holding the weight like this, unless you have your knees set a certain way. But this just makes it that much easier to really light up those hamburgers. Then when you want to get out, you can step one foot off and then the other foot to get it up, and you are good to go. You can change the resistance with different thicknesses of bands, or you can change the stance of your feet. That way it'll shorten this up, make it a little bit harder, so that way you've got a little bit of variation with what you have to work with. When doing this exercise, it's pretty important to keep the bands just like this. It just helps it so it doesn't slide anywhere. And it also helps you get a lot of tension when you're at the top of the range of motion. So play with it, see if you like it. It definitely works for me. After 2 hamstring exercises, we're gonna move on to glutes. I'm gonna use a thicker band just because it can take a lot more resistance. You may have seen me do these before. They're really easy and it's very effective. There's a lot of different ways you can add resistance with this. So I'd say like stage 1 would just be grabbing the top. Stage 2 would be grabbing the bottom because it's a little bit shorter. And then the third would be both at the same time. So you can get 3 different weights out of the same band. And what we're doing with this is it's a deadlift, but you're focusing on using your glutes to pull yourself up. So you're really driving your hips forward and just keeping that tension on your glutes the best that you can. And then you can also widen your grip a little bit more to make it even that much more before you move up to a different weight or a band, you might say. I'm already burning after 3 reps. So you won't feel much tension here, but right when you get here, all the way up, you'll definitely be feeling it. And the nice thing is, with you standing just like this, it might look like you're resting. Talk to the glutes. They're not resting one bit. You could also do this method for straight-legged deadlifts for hamstrings, but I wanted to give you some different ideas of ways you can train legs. So just play with whatever ones sound the best for you and go from there. Just doing that one glute exercise because when we're gonna do quads, it'll bring some glutes into it. I just like to pool a little bit more blood in the area. Next, we're gonna go up another size in bands. And what we're gonna do is plop them on your shoulders, get them in a comfortable spot, just because there's gonna be a lot of tension on them. And then you're just gonna push it down and step 1 foot in. Man, yeah, these are so much heavier duty than the green ones. And then we'll do the same here. Just like that. Holy cow. I feel like I'm over 300 pounds now. So you can do some squats like this if you want. You can just do some body weight squats. But with that first exercise, we anchored the band to something. So I'm going to assume you have something to hold on to that's stationary. So we're going to use that. And that stationary something can be a pole or a barbell, whatever, a tree. And what I'm going to do is kind of like a pendulum squat kind of movement. Just kind of squat back like this. Just hold this for some balance and go right on up. It gives surprisingly good resistance. When you get to about here, it drops off quite a bit, but that's pretty good depth for some bands. Oh, it's getting me. And then just get out something like this. Man, not too shabby. If this isn't enough resistance, you can stack more weight on, more bands. Or if it's too much, then you can drop to whatever's comfortable for you. Man, that got me pretty good. So I'm gonna do a couple sets of this, and then we'll move on to one more quad exercise. Fun thing about that is it almost feels like a pendulum squat or something, and your back is just straight up and down. So there's really low risk of any sort of back issues if that is something that you worry about. And another way you can get into position with your resistance is you can have the weight on your shoulders and then get down to where your bottom of the range of motion is, and then slide your feet under. And make sure when you put the weight, well, not the weight, but the resistance under your shoe, make sure it's in the same position of your foot for both feet. Otherwise, it might feel a little bit off. Throw a little bit of balance off. And a nice thing is you can choose whatever width you want as the stance, because there's nothing in the way. You can go as wide or as close as you want. There's a lot of flexibility with this. You might have a little bit of a skin casualty, as you can see, but hey, it'll go away. And besides, that means you're working hard, brother. Last quad exercise we got going on for today are lunges. But instead of having the resistance on our shoulders like we had before, we're gonna have it wrapped around like when we were doing those good mornings / stiff-legged deadlifts. So we're gonna wrap it around somewhere back here, keep my hands like this, and then I'm just gonna step one foot into it. Let's see if I can, there we go. Probably doesn't matter, but just liking to have it all a flat band. So I'll step in just like this, I'll plant myself, then I'll step back with my other foot, and then I'm just gonna find a good position to where I can just crank these things out and just finish off that leg. And then once I finish up this one, I'll go to the other one. Something that I definitely notice when I do lunges, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I usually feel it in my glutes like crazy, which that could be great for some people, but when I'm wanting to focus on quads, lunges usually isn't one of the top ones that comes to mind. But when you do it with a band, it feels different, and I can tell you right now, my quad is on fire. And then when you fail, either stand up or just do what I'm doing. Something like this. And switch to the other one. I'm just trying to conserve energy, that's all. Then get repositioned and go for the other one. You can get pretty good depth on this. It's not bad at all. And as far as resistance, you still get it really good at the bottom. That's why I'm doing it like this, because it shortens it, makes it a little bit more difficult, and get more tension towards this part of the range of motion. And you can also grab lower and hold up if you want just a very minor difference in resistance. Hey, then you're working your arms too. Or if it's a little too much, you can push down to shorten it. So you can see, you can make a lot of changes on the fly. Man, I gotta tell you, I'm pleasantly surprised. That was a much more intense workout than I was planning. I mean, look, you can see some sweat going on, old veins busting out. Just because you're not using weights or big gym equipment doesn't mean you can't get a really good workout in. With just using those, I got a really good workout in. And if I was doing something like this on the road, oh yeah, I would feel definitely satisfied and feel good about it. Definitely invest into a pair of these. If you enjoyed this workout, let me know. If you want to see more leg exercises or chest, back, arms, whatever, if you want to see anything, let me know. I'm sure I'll do a series of just banded workouts. Just because if this is all you have, if you live in an apartment complex or something to where you don't have much room, These are a great option. It's taking a minute to catch my breath. Seems like I've never worked out before. I think training in such a different way than I normally do just shocked my system so much. Very pleasant surprise, so I'll have to throw these in every once in a while. As a caution, you may have seen shorts or reels or TikToks where people are doing stupid things with these, so make sure you're not overstretching your bands, because the last thing you want is for them to break and slap you in the face, or for them to slide off and hit you. Ouch, you don't want to be like that guy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And always leave a comment below. I love hearing from you guys what you think and how I can better help you guys out. This is a giant learning process all together. We're all coming up with great ideas together, so don't forget to leave something in the comments. And as always, if you want to see more good fitness information and workouts, well, don't forget to tune in to the Mo Self Build.